What is up, everybody, and welcome back to the channel. I'm your host, Drew Hoover, and here's another segment of draft needs, and we're talking about the AFC West today. If you haven't subscribed yet, go ahead and subscribe to my channel. If you have any graphic design needs, please go to AnthonyGarciaDesign.com. He's the one that designed my logo, so if you have any needs like that, please go to him. The link will be in the description down below. So let's get into the AFC West today, and I'm going to start with the Denver Broncos right here. The reason I'll start with the Denver Broncos is, I keep thinking that the Denver Broncos could eventually trade for Aaron Rodgers. We'll talk about Aaron Rodgers in a different segment here, but let's start with the Denver Broncos. I gave them a B for their efforts, and they really stacked it up on the defensive backs this offseason, both in free agency and in the draft. Just the draft alone, let me list the defensive backs they drafted. They drafted Patrick Surtain II out of Alabama. They drafted Case Stearns, the safety out of Texas. Jamar Johnson, the safety out of Indiana. Then their last, I think one of the last picks was Kerry Vincent Jr., the cornerback from LSU. And like I said, in a free agency, they got guys like Ronald Darby, so they're really stacking it up on that cornerback position right there. Again, they didn't draft a quarterback in this draft. Some of it may have to do with what happened in the towards the end of the second and third round when 3 quarterbacks came off the board. But again, we'll see what happens with the Aaron Rodgers trade. Also notable picks, Javonte Williams, running back from North Carolina. I love that pick. My comparison to him is LaShawn McCoy, and I think he's a very good complement to Melvin Gordon, or in case Melvin Gordon gets injured or they feel like they've tried to see what they have in him. They don't know if he's got any more, but nonetheless, they have Javonte Williams to fall back on. Also notable picks, Quint Mears, the offensive tackle from Wisconsin Whitewater. If you saw the NFL draft, then you saw him pretty much taking out trees with his bare hands, and that was pretty much the highlight of the NFL draft right there. And also Seth Williams, a wide receiver from Auburn. I would have liked to have addressed the middle linebacker position. I think a guy like Jeremiah Wazu-Komara, like I mentioned in my mock draft, would have been a good fit right here. He let him slip right down there to him. They really stacked heavily on those cornerbacks right there. I mentioned about depth in my previous videos right there. Probably another reason for adding so many corners right there is because more and more offenses have either a spread offense or have spread offense concepts in them and use it way more often. I have mentioned Chan Gailey using a spread offense with inclinations of the run-pass option. Zach Taylor with Cincinnati has mixed concepts of the West Coast and spread offense there. So I feel like, you almost need 4 good corners to defend in this day and age. And a lot of quarterbacks will take advantage of the slot if you don't have a good nickel back. So that's probably the reason for that right there. Let's move on to the Los Angeles Chargers, and I gave them a B for their efforts right there. I love the Rashawn Slater pick, and it's funny that they were trying to lead us away from that pick when they're like, hey, Trey Perkins has improved so much since last year, and yet they went ahead and drafted him anyway. Again, I understand when you're talking about the AFC West with the Broncos and their pass rush right there, the pressure that comes from the Kansas City Chiefs with Chris Jones and Frank Clark, and so you definitely needed that offensive line to protect Justin Herbert. Also notable pick, Asante Samuel Jr., the cornerback from Florida State. Excellent pick right there. Needed someone to protect the back end, especially when you got speed guys like Tyreek Hill. You got Jerry Jeudy and Henry Ruggs. Also notable picks by the Los Angeles Chargers. Josh Palmer, the wide receiver from Tennessee, and then Chris Rump, the second, a defensive end from Duke. So again, I would have liked to see them improve more of that defense, but then again, they had a lot of holes right there. I feel like they could have improved that defensive back position a little bit more. Maybe got another corner. Again, Asante Samuel was a good pick right there. I would like to give Kenneth Murray some help at the linebacker position. And we'll see how Chris Rump's fills that hole left by Melvin Ingram. Let's move on to the other teams right here. The next one is the Las Vegas Raiders, and I give them a C- for their efforts. Obviously, the questionable pick with Alex Leatherwood. I did tell you guys that he is technically battle tested. He's a 4-year starter. He just doesn't have the explosiveness, the quickness of other teams. And so, I mean, they do have Tom Cable, their offensive line coach right there, who used to coach for the Raiders back in the day. So we'll see how he can be able to coach Leatherwood, take care of those things right there. Also notable picks by the Las Vegas Raiders. Trevin Morey, again, I don't know how he slipped in the second round. Could be the back injury that he suffered right there. But he was the best safety in the draft. Surprised he wasn't the first one taken off the board. But he definitely fits that need right there. But I would have liked for them to address more on the defensive side. Again, I mentioned middle linebacker right here, which is surprising when you look at Gus Bradley and his defense right there. They lack a middle linebacker, and yet that's pretty much a pivotal position when you're talking about the base 4-3 right there. And again, passing up on guys like Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah in the draft, and in the first round they could have gotten him or Jamin Davis before he slipped to the Washington football team, but they passed on both of those guys. So that's why I gave him such a low grade. And then finally we have the Kansas City Chiefs right here. The teams that have gone to the Super Bowl in back-to-back years. We hope we don't see a decline again when we talk about a young quarterback that won the Super Bowl, then lost to Tom Brady next year. Obviously, they compare to Russell Wilson, but they improved the offensive line tremendously. A total remodel, a total facial reconstruction sort of thing on offensive line. You don't even recognize it anymore. So hopefully they can continue to be successful right here. But with the draft, they didn't have a lot of needs. I gave them a C for their efforts right here. The first pick, Nick Bolton, I liked that pick. Honestly, I feel like that's a pick that has lacked since the departure of Derek Johnson right there, and I feel like he brings more of an explosiveness. He kind of reminds me of Brennan Spikes, the linebacker from Florida. I feel like he's a very good downhill tackler, and I feel like he definitely can help at the line of scrimmage right there. Also notable picks, Creed Humphrey, the center from Oklahoma, again adding to that depth right there. I would have loved for them to gotten an edge rusher earlier. They did get defensive end out of Florida State later on, but I would have loved for them to have made an effort if they hadn't traded out that first round pick, which again, I like the fact that they got Orlando Brown and again giving more protection for Patrick Mahomes. But if they would have stayed there, I would have recommended maybe a Jason Oye from Penn State or Azeez Ojulari, the defensive end from Georgia. I did mention Ronnie Perkins when I did the AFC West draft needs. I thought he fit very well with the scheme that Steve Spagnuolo likes to do on that defensive side. But just because I give them a bad grade doesn't mean I don't think they're going to still win the division. That's why I feel like the end result's going to be, I think all these teams are trying their hardest right here. I still think the Kansas City Chiefs will win the AFC West, but keep an eye out for Aaron Rodgers because he could end up in Denver right here, which I think is the best spot for him. We talk about the offensive line. You got the running game with Melvin Gordon and now Javonte Williams. You got the wide receivers with Cortland Sutton, Jerry Jeudy, and Noah Fant. And you got that defense by Vic Fangio. I feel like the sky's the limit right there. If you got Aaron Rodgers there. There have been some rumors about the Las Vegas Raiders as well. I just think if you're going to Denver, that would be a better supporting cast. But either way, Aaron Rodgers, if he ends up in the AFC West, could shake things up. And that has been the draft grades for the AFC West. Please stay tuned for more as they come along. Have a good day, everybody.